The one interview question that will protect you from North Korean fake workers, okay? Now, unfortunately, I am actually not sure if I can say the question out loud. I don't know. I'm not sure if there's like some weird terms of service thing that I gotta be worried about, but let's just have a look. Are you concerned a new recruit might be a North Korean stooge out to steal intellectual property and then hit an org with malware? There's an answer, for the moment at least. According to Adam Myers, CrowdStrike's senior VP in the counter-adversary division, North Korean infiltrators are bagging roles worldwide throughout the year. Thousands. I've heard thousands have infiltrated the Fortune 500. Even if it's tens, that's 10 too many. They're masking IPs. They're exporting laptop farms to America so they can connect into those machines and appear to be working from the USA. And they're using AI. But there's a question during job interviews that never fails to catch them out and forces them to drop out of the recruitment process. You know what? I'm doing a favor to the entire tech industry right now, okay? So somebody has to drop 50 subs for this. You could go look up the article, but if you want me to say it, it's 50 subs, all right? Like that. My favorite interview question, because we've interviewed quite a few of these folks, is something to the effect of, I'm not going to say it. What I will do is I will blow this up as much as it will be blown up, and I will give you a minute to read the question. If you're concerned that you're staring a North Korean faker dead in the eyes, I'm not sure what the terms of service would be on Twitch and YouTube in particular. So there it is. They terminate the call instantly because it's not worth it to say something negative about that. He told a panel session at the RSA conference in San Francisco Monday. Ready to compile your Docker images to an exe is great. That's the question you ask. Myers explained that North Koreans will use generative AI to develop bulk batches of LinkedIn profiles and applications for remote work jobs that appeal to Western companies. So we've covered this before. We know this happens. It's not just North Koreans. There are several other groups and nation state actors who do this. And like I said, they target companies, for example, Western cybersecurity companies, because they know if they can work like as a programmer in one of those companies, then they have access to secure data. During an interview, multiple teams will work on the technical challenges that are part of the interview, while the front man handles the physical side of the interview, although sometimes rather ineptly. And again, I did cover this on a previous stream where I had this experience. I was interviewing someone, and during the interview, it was quite clear that they were looking off, like to the side, and their eyes were reading. There was a teleprompter. I believe that they had a teleprompter on both sides of the camera. That way they could kind of confuse you a little bit by looking to one side or the other, and it would seem a bit random. But it was clear that they were like reading, right? You can see when the eyes scroll and they go from left to right, or from the mirrored perspective right to left. And yeah, let's just say they weren't who they said they were. And the stories behind the people who experienced this beyond just my own stories are also wild. I thought this was hilarious. One of the things that we've noted is that you'll have a person in Poland applying with a very complicated name, he recounted, and then when you get them on Zoom calls, it's a military-age male Asian who can't pronounce it. I want you to think about the series of steps that are involved here. So you receive a resume. The resume says so-and-so, complicated name, location, Poland. You get on the Zoom call. It's a military-aged Asian male. They cannot pronounce their own name, but it works enough that quite a few score the job and millions of dollars are being funneled back to North Korea via this route. Now, anyway, if you're of questionable moral character and you really desperately need a job, you might have a blueprint here. Now, the continued portion, the continued negative effect is that if you pass the interview process, which is mind-boggling that people do, it's mind-boggling to me that something like this can pass muster and make it through. If you pass it, then once inside, the workers are usually successful. Why? Because they have multiple people working on the job to provide the best work possible, with the hope of getting a promotion and more access to the business's systems. It's like an executive's wet dream turned into a nightmare. You pay one person for the work of many people, but the cost is oh so high. I mean, it's shocking to me that it passes. And then, oh, it's not over, folks. Just to make it worse, apparently, this person, right? This person said, whoever was giving this talk and stating these things says, I think more often than not, I get the comment of, oh, but fake North Korean worker from Poland is our best performer. Do we actually need to fire bros? We're cooked. We're so cooked. So not only do North Korean and others fake their way into the tech interview process with fake names, they're clearly not anywhere near the ethnicity or background or name who they say they are during the interview process as opposed to the resume. That somehow passes. They get into the company. They have a whole team of North Korean hackers behind them giving best results for company, you know. And after all this passes, people are like, well, clearly this person is here to cause some damage, but I mean, they're doing good work, you know. They're our best performer. Do we really gotta let this person go? So, okay. I mean, sure. I am both shocked and not at all surprised at hearing this. It's that, yeah, that makes sense. That's how the tech industry operates. Yes. Yeah. So even if this person is exposed and fired, usually it's too late. They've already collected login details. They've already planted unactivated malware and will then attempt to extort the maximum they can. Now, the attackers are getting smarter, apparently. They're diversifying their tactics. For example, to get around the problem of IP address blocks. You can imagine that if you're in North Korea or any other nation state or just a group of people who don't belong to any nation, they just like doing this stuff, there's going to be IP addresses that are particularly locked in to your location. And those can be blocked. And so how would you get around that so that you can continue to operate the way you would like? Well, you create a laptop farm at your designated location, like America. If an applicant gets a job, the firm will usually send him a laptop, at which point the interviewee explains that they've moved or have a family emergency. So could they send it to a new address, please? This is most likely a laptop farm where someone in the US agrees to run the laptop from a legitimate address for a fee, typically around $200 a computer, according to Myers. Last year, the FBI busted one such operation in Nashville, Tennessee, and charged the operator with conspiracy to cause damage to protected computers, conspiracy to launder monetary instruments, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, intentional damage to protected computers, aggravated identity theft. Just imagine for a moment that you have been convicted of aggravated identity theft, as opposed to just like identity theft, non-aggravation style. and conspiracy to cause the unlawful employment of aliens. And no, we're not talking about UFOs. Rather than creating identities, the North Korean workers have now taken to either stealing the ones they want or fooling people into handing them over for a good cause. There's a growing business in Ukraine of convincing people to share their identity with third parties under the pretext of using them against Chinese agents who are propping up Russia. Unfortunately, because this is supporting North Koreans, the money then goes back through to filter through to North Korean regime, says Chris Horn, senior director at Upwork. And then in turn, it supports troops that come back in through Russia. It's just, this was almost every paragraph. Towards the end here, it started to kind of trail off. But almost every paragraph that I read, one after the other, it just got worse and worse and worse. It got more, beyond the realm of sanity at each paragraph. This is crazy. So the other thing to consider here is, even though this article talks about nation state actors, so it talked about China, it talked about North Korea, it talked about Russia, you do also have to consider that there are plenty of other nation states who might also use these exact same tactics or a variation of them. And like I said, there are groups of people who don't belong to any particular nation. They don't have an allegiance to any nation. They just have an allegiance to their pocketbook. And they work together and they do this kind of stuff. So when I say be careful out there, I can't stress that enough. Can't stress it enough.